maybe we need to get in touch with our ancestors in a way that books cannot give us. They can remind us, but how do you get in touch with that where you can hear the spirit of your ancestors within yourself, where you can feel that connection? I think that's something that we long for. We want the truth. Like when you read a book, when you read a religious text, there's all these questions of like, yeah, but who messed with this? Who rewrote this? What was the reason behind that? There's this longing for the truth, like a direct contact to our past to open up our future.
I don't know.
And again, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I don't really know what I'm saying. It's just something I noticed.
I don't know. I for one have looked a lot into, I guess, my ancestry just by looking at
Mhm.
like who the people who died, and being like, okay, so like in basically like just family looking at one's family tree basically,
Mhm.
and figuring out their stuff about that, like people's stories and what one can figure out about that. What did they do and these kind of things.
Yeah.
And
It.
I don't know, like that kind of like, I don't know, to some degree it helps to connect to one's ancestors, but I do feel also that from, I don't know, like Jungian but also a shamanic lens, because it's kind of like how I've been approaching this. It's, I don't know, there's certain traits and certain qualities that are within one's ancestors, and one can figure it out by learning more about one's ancestors' stories, or and about one's ancestors, in some sense one can learn about that. But I feel what I started to realize also is it's about tapping into these archetypal qualities, these different archetypes that run through one's family, to tap into that and to use that energy that's in like innate in that for one's own goals, for one's own what one wants to do. If one comes from a family of warriors, you can tap into that energy. You don't have to use it in the strict sense of, oh, I have to become a soldier now or something. No, actually, you
Right.
can use that like warrior energy to fuel whatever endeavor one wants to do. But similarly, like if there's other archetypal energies there, and I guess in some way with the shamanic lens, I guess I've been like trying to, through like shamanic journey, and connect to the ancestors, and it would be like more symbolic in that sense. But it's another way to do it symbolically, but it's more symbolic than literal, and one would not
Right.
exactly always be like I guess aware of exactly what ancestor is this, or is this like you don't know those things. But I don't
Right.
know. But other than that, I mean, other ways would be, if one doesn't know any of these things, would just be to interact with the music of one's ancestors, like going
Ooh.
back.
Yes.
Thinking like if one for instance one is an American, one has like German ancestry, you can tap into the older German music, or even go further back. I mean, you have like these bands like Heilung, for instance, or like these different Scandinavian bands. For me, it speaks a lot because of my ancestry specifically. But the thing is, one can tap into these things and through music connect to one's ancestors, or through art
Yes.
of the time. And I think that's very much is even more profound than just to look at, like just to look at one's like family tree. It's like it gives, if you can do that and you can figure these things out and their stories, is it like it will give you a certain depth. But I think really tap, or like having this connection to one's ancestors and the past, is through music, it's through art, and to really feel it, to tap into
Yes.
these feelings. Because otherwise, if
Yes.
it's just family tree and you look at these things, it remains information, and you don't feel it. If we feel it, then you tap into the deeper layers, into the genome, into the deeper parts of the mind, because
Yeah.
everything what happened with the ancestors and that led to this very point where you are at now as an individual has also been influenced by one's ancestors and shaped. One's brain has been shaped by that to some degree. We have like agency to do whatever with it, with these archetypal energies and this ancestral energy, what we want. We don't have to follow exactly in the footsteps of our ancestors, but we can use that and tap into that energy and use it for something that we want to do to build our
Right.
kingdom, how we see it.
Yeah, like when Obi-Wan fucked up, he wanted Luke to not make the same mistakes. He understood that Luke cannot do what Obi-Wan did because that's how he died. That's how they lost everything. He can't do what Darth Vader did either. And there has to be this balance in between. But I'd like to speak on this music part. Like that really hit me hard what you said. Because I too resonate with some of the, because we're of the same ancestry, I believe. And I listened to this song by Wardruna called "The Healing Mountain" several years ago.
Yeah.
And oh my God, dude, like it opened up something inside me that I did not know that I had. And I've listened to a lot of music, man. But when I heard that music, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm home somehow. I feel this, like it is deeply resonating with me. And it sounded like I could almost hear the voice of my ancestors, crying out to me, trying to tell me something, speak to me in a certain way. It's still very powerful to this day. And it might be on a genetic level. Like, I don't know if everybody that is of a different ancestry would resonate as powerfully as that we do with that. They probably have their own music. I mean, definitely they have their own music they strongly resonate with that. Yeah, sure, I can vibe with, maybe I can dance to it, but does it touch me in the same way that the music my ancestors sang? I don't believe so. And I think you're right. We don't have Force ghosts. We don't have a Kwisatz Haderach like in Dune. We don't have these things, but these concepts are so powerful in our storytelling. Like Star Wars has that concept. Dune has that concept. Also, there's this really good 80s movie called Altered States. It's about this guy that, this psychologist that experiments with sensory deprivation tanks while he's tripping on mushrooms and, DMT and all this other stuff. So he jumps in the tank tripping hard. And what he achieves is something like in Dune, like the Kwisatz Haderach. Like he taps into his genetic memory and remembers stuff from, our ape-like ancestors. And he remembers it so much that he embodies it and he transforms into like an early hominid, like an early human ape-like creature, and is like running around the laboratory like a crazy monkey. And by the end of it, he has to integrate all of this ancestral memory, not lose his mind. And just spoiler alert, if anybody wants to watch this movie, mute this. But in the end, when he's like losing his shit again and transforming into this ape monkey thing, his wife is the one that has to save him. She has to, like appeal to his humanity and help him balance that savage ancestral past with the intellectual future, because you need both to move on. You need both to have reality. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't deny our past and wash it all away and act like we're never going to repeat that. And so he is able to integrate that shadow, the shadow representing the ape-like creature with, the future better version of himself. And the love of his wife, saves him from this insanity, where he has both access to the past and an opening to the future with his queen.
Yeah.
So it's this concept of how do we get in touch with our ancestors without books is something that is very powerful today in, like, New Age circles, psychedelic circles.
Yeah. I can say
People,
something about that. It's actually
yeah.
been part of my practice of what I've been doing the last 2 years.
Hmm.
I've been really using a lot of music regarding that, especially from like Rodruna and like Heilung and these different bands. But I've been
Hmm.
specifically because I've been looking into these like Proto-Indo-European Koreos rituals
Yeah.
for a while. And what I've been doing is, I looked at these anthropological studies, and I've been, putting the ritual like together more and more. And so what I've been doing is I started to first to reenact these rituals by myself in the woods, like during the day, and eventually during the night. I would also, like, more towards the night, evening, would go out and do that with my shaman drum. And I would be using the shaman drum and that music to really put myself back into that kind of, I guess, ancestral state of mind, and to tap into it through both the drum, but also through the music, and to feel into that. And I got like quite a few times I got to the point where I was kind of like tapping into, like, I don't know, I guess like a hunter-gatherer state of mind, where my mindset like shifted towards that. But then I've been like working on like finding a balance between that kind of like I guess mindset, and like I don't know, it was exhilarating, and it felt really good to be in that like hunter-gatherer mindset. It's kind of got inspired by this like one channel, like with this one dude who does that as well. I think he's Scottish, where he is both living in a modern sense, but also he reenacts his like this like more primal kind of hunter-gatherer kind of lifestyle. And I kind of like was like, I don't know, I after seeing that, and having looked into these Koreos rituals, it's like, I'm gonna do this too. And that's kind of what I started to do, and I feel that very much helped, together with the music and everything combined with the drum, helped to tap into that ancestral energy in a very powerful way, to like connect to that. And it's also very much part of these Koreos rituals as well, because at the end, like, when you go out and do these rituals, it's very much also about like they are designed to tap into the ancestral energy, where at some point you kind of become your ancestors. You tap into that, like those from a psychological lens, archaic memories, these like these ancestral kind of patterns and memories, where you can like start to integrate them into yourself, and to integrate that. But it requires I don't know, it takes time to find the right music, to find the right like that, to create that like proper resonance, and that it takes experimentation and some courage to do so, and to allow oneself to, in I guess the Koreos rituals, to tap into the wolf archetype, and tap into like this how you into like this kind of like the Koreos symbolism that's connected
Yeah.
to that. But it's
Yeah.
possible.
The On the topic of Proto-Indo-European, I got way into that, and I taught myself how to speak some of it, because I was like, this is the earliest language that we know of, and we're probably not even pronouncing it correctly, because it's a dead language.
Yeah.
But I got so interested in it because of the consciousness. I know language is the bedrock of consciousness, and if you could learn how to speak the oldest language, you would begin to get in their mindset. You would be connected to them far more.
For the entire episode, please check out the description or click on the end screen. And maybe see you next time.